Hello and welcome back to the Buddhas of Passion podcast. And in this episode, we are talking about reality bending, how to live a life with no rules, or perhaps how to create your own rules of the game. How do we start this episode?
Well, what is reality bending? The way we see it is that it's living life in alignment with your power, your essence, which is by your rule. And doing this takes you out of the limits of what you used to believe was possible and what the world believes is possible. So reality is also a very funny word, right? Like no one knows what is reality. But we all have this sense that reality is what the world agrees upon. And how we bend reality is usually through what most people would call delusion or fantasy. It's like some people have the courage to envision a world that is totally different from what is. And while they may be completely mocked or shamed, while you may be mocked or shamed, while you're going through that initial phase of bringing in this new vision of reality, when it actually starts happening and when you get across the line, then you're called a pioneer or whatever it is. But someone needs to hold that gravity field which will bend the reality, which is essentially what is happening, is that the consensus reality is the strong gravity field over here. And then you start building a separate gravity field outside of it, stronger and stronger. And the stronger it becomes, eventually the consensus reality starts bending to your reality. So that's my way of looking at reality bending, is your power becomes that gravity field, your vision, your delusion, whatever you want to call it, becomes that gravity field which sucks the world into what you want the world to be, versus you getting sucked into what the world says reality is.
This reminds me of a famous ad of Apple about the misfits and all the people who are dreamers and who are basically written off by the society. And they have big dreams, big desires, big hopes, big ideas, and yet the conventional people don't really agree with them and laugh at them and
Cancel
judge
them.
them and cancel them. And so when it comes to reality bending, what you need as a person like that, you need a lot of confidence in yourself and in your idea itself, but also just simply determination to keep on going, keep on creating, keep on doing whatever it is that you feel called to do or create until it finally manifests. Despite all the pushback, despite all the naysayers, despite all the criticism, despite all the skeptics. And I have certainly experienced that myself right before shifting from the corporate world towards being my own boss by my family. They were not really understanding, they were not quite supportive, they were full of fears. But here's the catch: all those people who are criticizing or being skeptical, they are simply projecting their own fears, and it has actually absolutely nothing to do with you. So that's the idea behind, to believe in yourself and in your idea so much and to fall in love with that idea of yourself and of that reality, that new reality that you're creating, so much that you're never going to give up on it, because that's who you are. So to me, reality bending is rather just becoming more of who you really are. So you're only bending reality based on the forms and norms and structures that have been imposed onto you. And instead, you're going against the stream and you're creating your own thing. You're creating your own reality, no matter what others are saying.
Yeah, so the whole thing is about conviction, and it's that absolute conviction that anything can happen and you will only see yourself on the other side of it. So you always hold that vision. So what is the difference between someone who is in delusion of fantasy and delusion of conviction that will create a new reality? In our experience, it is people who, like, with real conviction has space for everything. It has space for doubt, it has space for fear, it has space for uh people's bullshit, all the bullshit that comes from the world. It has space for it all, where you have the ability to feel everything. You have the ability to feel all the minor failures, all the setbacks, all the, like I said, even the doubt in yourself, like, can I do this? Am I being crazy? Am I delusional? Am I just like, am I really going to make this happen? So there is space for all of that, because the people who make it happen go through all of that, and they do it anyway. That is the key difference. Whereas the people who are, who we say are in fantasy, like, we had a wonderful conversation yesterday where, it came out that there is no such thing as fantasy. It's basically just people giving up on their wish. And why do they give up? Is that they like, in a way, reality eats them. They succumb to reality. They succumb to the consensus that exists. So the pressures of the world, if you cannot handle it, you cannot manifest a new reality. So this is crucial, is that if you want to get to the other side, you need that conviction within yourself, and
And inner power and strength.
and and support if you need that. Like, there have been times in both our lives when, and I think it happens in every manifestor's life, where they are alone and there will be no support, and you really have to find your way through that dark tunnel, that wormhole. But when you come out on the other side, that is when having support becomes crucial, because that helps you to cement into the new reality. People who can keep, feeding you the right energy, the right frequency for your reality to become, for your vision to become that reality. Because after that wormhole, making it into a reality requires bringing people from that old reality into the new one. That is your power, that is your gravity field, and that is the support you create even for yourself, so that you have these people who are holding the energy for this new reality, which we have both found to be very crucial. It's the right people with the right frequency, the right energy, who are super aligned with your vision. When they are present, then that is when reality really collapses and things start happening at a drastic pace.
Right. And I want to also bring a different perspective on reality bending, that it doesn't only mean that it's all about your vision. It's also about how to live your life. So it might be that your vision in general remains exactly the same, whether you have changed your reality or not. But the way you approach life in itself is already bending reality. And what I mean with this is that so often people think that in order to achieve financial success, or in order to succeed with their business, or in order to meet someone special in their life, they need to do certain specific things. This is how it works, like a very linear path. You do X in order to get Y, and it's all causality, basically. Now, you can also shift your reality if you are tired of how things have evolved, and you are kind of exhausted of how you always have to effort and force things, and you keep on facing the same obstacles, and things are not really satisfying, and maybe you are even rather bored. Maybe in your business you have done that same thing over and over and over again, making a living, making money that same way, that kind of sucked your soul out of you, and you're looking for a better way, for an easier way, for a more inspiring way, for a more joyful way, for a way that's not making you feel like, oh, it's another day. Like I wake up in the morning and I'm already kind of bored by how my day is going to look like because I already know and I can already predict how it's going to look like. So if you're on the verge of wanting things to become more magnificent, more magical, more exciting, then that is also reality bending, because what you're doing is you're shaping and changing your perspective on how life is supposed to be designed to begin with. You're kind of rebuilding your house, the foundation of how you're building your house. So instead of only looking at the physical stuff that you're going to experience when it comes to bending reality, it's also a matter of how you actually do that, how you approach it, how you have fun, which direction you take, like from which perspective you are looking at that same vision that you have identified as something that you want to manifest.
Yeah, and like it's exactly like I think the same principles apply no matter what vision you're manifesting, whether it's a vision for your personal life and the way you live a lifestyle, or if it's to bring a business or anything into the world. It's all about knowing, that inner knowing of I know that it can happen in this way. It can be effortless, it can be easy, it can be a causal. I don't have to do something to get a result. I can become the result directly. So it's that shift in reality where you stop buying into the causal world, the linear world, the world of rules that tells you you have to be this way to get a certain thing. So, even if we talk about something as basic as relationships, there is so much masking that happens nowadays that I have to look a certain way and behave a certain way to get my ideal partner. And the ideal partner you get is only buying that look. It's not buying the real you. So do you want your ideal partner to buy the real you or that mask that you have created? Because if they buy that mask, you have to live in that mask your whole life. And there is an aligned way of living, and there is someone who wants to buy that inner alignment that you have. And it's really got nothing to do with looks or anything, because there are so many people who find love that has nothing to do with looks, but it's real love. So again, it's all about that crazy delusion or conviction that I know that there is a whole different way. I know it. And if my coach or my therapist or my friends or my family cannot support me, I'm going to drop all of them. If they tell me I'm being ridiculous, I'm being a dreamer, I'm being this, and I must become more practical and compromise and be more blah, 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 I'm just going to drop all of them and I'm going to find the people who support me, who tell me that this is possible. For me, that was one of the biggest liberations, was like, when it happened several times in my life, I just knew that this is the way to do it, but nothing on the surface was saying that it's possible. And then suddenly, I just did not give up on that. And suddenly this one person comes in who says, yes, actually, I've done this many times. And it is the way reality
I think
functions.
that's the key, that it's not just someone who tells you that it's possible, but it's someone who has done it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like if anyone can say, oh yeah, that's a nice idea, go do it. But
Oh yeah, it's written in those books. I read it somewhere. It's possible. Yeah.
yeah, that is full of shit. But when someone comes with that inner substance of experience and they tell you, yeah, like, see, this is totally possible. I have done it. This is the way it happened. Then it's like, oh, now I'm fully in my power. I'm fully in my fire. And now there is nothing stopping me. So sometimes it is just that inner conviction that gets you through that wormhole. And sometimes that external validation is tremendously helpful. So I think it's both ways are possible. It's just you have to see that, if you are needing that, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you need that external validation, if you need that help, if you need that guidance, you need that coaching, it's fine. It's just to stay in that conviction that I am going to do it this way. I don't care if I fail. I don't care if I die. There is this example of someone who was someone who was talking about doing a 40-day fast, and sounds ridiculous. Like, I will not eat for 40 days.
Not just eat, it's a water fast, so you only would drink, right?
Yeah, only drinking water. So if you so basically
And the
this,
reason why it's ridiculous is because you basically die after how many days?
I'm not sure. Anyway, it's like that is
After
like
25 days or something like this,
you
you're supposed
basically,
to
it's
die.
like even not eating for 5 days for me is ridiculous. So forget the thing is that this person had that conviction that even if this kills me, I'm going to do it. That is my level of conviction that nothing, not even death, will stop me. So unless you're willing to commit to that level, then you might as well just stop trying and just go and live the standard life. If you really want to bend reality and make that lifestyle happen, create space for every single feeling that's going to come up. The rejection, the opposition, the struggle from within, the doubt, everything. Create that space before you dive in, because for sure you're going to feel every single feeling. Because what is happening as you're going through this wormhole is that it is shedding every single layer and attachment that belongs to the old reality, that belongs to the consensus reality. So for it to be shed, it needs to be felt. That's the way the shedding takes place. It comes up, it becomes conscious, you feel it, and you drop it, and you keep moving on. So this is the wormhole experience. And this is also something like we keep talking about. We are living it, we are helping people through it. Like this, for me, is my favorite metaphor, the wormhole, because in that wormhole, everything happens, and then you come out on the other side.
I think it's helpful to use a practical example and to illustrate what we're actually talking about. So if we take the brain forest, for example, we're not, again, we talked about it in the last episodes briefly, but we're not strategizing of how we're going to make it happen and how the brain forest is going to unfold, how exactly we're going to build the buildings and do all the landscaping, the funding, what kind of team we're going to bring together and all of that. We're approaching it in a very organic and a very natural way that is in alignment with nature also, how nature works. Nature doesn't strategize, it just grows. It just organically attracts the bees to the flowers and the animals to the other animals, and whatever is happening naturally. And that is the idea behind as well, that in order to create a different reality that you want, creating new rules of the game, that's exactly how we are doing it with the brain forest, that we don't want to suffer, we don't want to lose passion about this project, about this idea, about this amazing creation. We want it to be a living thing. We want to be excited every single day, not because we look at the schedule and we have a gazillion of things to do, but because we're excited about what's next, like what kind of other opportunity is going to show up, what kind of people we're going to have conversations with, who we're going to bump into on the road, and suddenly they become whoever, like involved in our project somehow. And the thing is that because we approach it this way, we also invite and magnetize these kind of experiences and opportunities all the time. I don't even know how many examples we have, like many examples, many synchronicities happening over and over and over again to illustrate how things are really moving. It's not like, you're sitting around and waiting for magic to land on your lap. That's not really what we're talking about here either. What we're talking about is, like you said, bringing that energy, pulling that energy into that new reality in your fantasy, which is not really fantasy, it's just your imagination, your vision, and all of that. And it's your passion. And when you keep on feeding that passion, keep on feeding that alignment, keep on feeding that vision over and over and over again with more detail, with more excitement, with more feelings, with more thoughts, with more conversations, you start talking about it with other people, you start involving other people into that reality, that then inevitably it starts manifesting and materializing and having shape in this new reality in the 3D. So it's no longer this just, some idea out there that's just, are you completely delusional? No, it becomes very real because you start talking about it and other people get excited too. And they want to be a part of it too. But again, all of this comes from deep down. And because it comes from deep down, then there's a lot of energy moving in because you keep on feeding that energy. It's like feeding the fire. You start the fire and you keep on putting some wood to keep the fire growing and growing and growing and growing until it becomes something really big.
There was this quote that had come to me a long time back, which was that while the world screams no, the universe whispers yes.
Mm.
And the world, you can see it also as, the external voices or your mind. And the universe, you can also see it as your soul or your heart. Like something inside you is constantly saying, yes, do this, do this, do this, go for it, go for it. The more you feed that voice, the louder it becomes. It goes from a whisper to something that's screaming, and you cannot ignore it anymore. For that, you need that that transmutation where you shift your hearing from the outside to the inside. You and your power are exactly what you need to change the rules of the game.
I wanted again to bring a very tangible example to this conversation. So let's say you're not satisfied with your relationship, and that relationship is just not satisfying in many different ways. You're becoming somehow numb to the relationship. You're becoming numb to that person. You feel unseen, you feel unheard, you feel misunderstood. It just doesn't really click. You're not excited about how it's going. And if you envision this moving forward, nothing is going to change anytime soon. And yet, if you think about, okay, how could I actually have a completely different reality, is having something amazing and incredible dynamic, incredible connection, incredible chemistry, a lot of emotional support, etc., etc. Now, if you envision that, then quite likely there will be some discomfort coming up, feeling like, oh, but it's going to take so much effort for me to end this relationship or to improve this relationship to something that I actually want. Now, when it comes to the wormhole, your work here is not only to be determined, not only to have conviction, but also to be willing to be in the discomfort of the wormhole. Because in the wormhole, it's a little bit dark, it's a little bit uncomfortable, it's kind of tight, chaotic, it can be even dramatic, and it can be lonely. But again, you will come out on the other side being so much happier, so much more excited about what's yet to come and what's unfolding moving forward. So then when you have decided to let go of that old relationship because it didn't feel in alignment anymore, and you get into the wormhole, then that period in the wormhole doesn't define how your destiny is going to be, how your life is going to look like, how your new reality is going to feel in your bones. Once you get out of that wormhole, in that new reality, in that new vision, you are becoming a new person. So in the process between the two realities, you basically become a new version of you. So your new reality also is a reflection of who you're being. And because you're choosing to be a different person, inevitably you also create a different reality.
So that brings two things to my mind. Since I was the one who founded the whole brain forest, initially it was just a project and it came to me as a vision. And at that time, it just was so delusion that, those specific words were even said to me, like, you are delusion. How can you make this happen? This is too crazy and blah, blah, blah. Especially because I did not have any money at that time to make a retreat center, which was the original vision. So how do you make a retreat center with no money, with nothing, like no resources, no people, no community, nothing. So, but it was just so strong within me. I just knew that I am going to live in that place. And the way it started was even, many years before that. So it was 5 years before the actual vision came. I stepped onto the property, which is which we already own today. And when I stepped onto that property, it was just this deep feeling in my heart. There was an instant, this is my home. I'm going to live here. And again, no money at that time, no idea how to make it happen. And it wasn't like, oh, I'll make a little money and it will happen. It was quite a lot of money at that time. So many years passed, let it go. 2019, the vision started coming. That is when it started becoming like, okay, now I know that that property is linked to this vision and it's all coming into some kind of, manifestation. Still no money, still no idea how to make it happen. In 2021, the opportunity came to buy this property, still no money, but the deal had to be signed or the property would go to someone else, and who knows who that property would go to and what the story would be after that. The thing is that it's so ridiculous to sign a contract to pay, let's say, $100,000 without having the money and without knowing where it's going to come from. For from the linear words perspective, from the causal perspective, this is not how you do things. You have to have the money first, then you sign the deal, then you buy the property.
Not only you don't do it, you don't ever even think about it. Nobody even thinks about it. Everybody thinks about getting a loan or a mortgage or borrowing money from their parents and friends and business partners, or making more money and working really hard for 20 years until they will actually make it happen when the opportunity is completely gone by that time. Nobody thinks about it this way.
Yes, exactly. But the way quantum shifts work, the way reality bending or reality jumping works is that when the opportunity comes, you have to jump. If you miss the train, you miss the train. And who knows when the next train is coming.
Only if it feels right.
Of course, and that is a calling from within. The train is not something on the outside. The train is that calling from within, where I knew that this property will be my home. I knew that the retreat center has to be built on this property. And then when that opportunity comes, now the deal is here. Now the contract is to be signed. Will you answer from fear that, oh, I don't have the money, how can I do this? Or will you answer from that conviction that I know that this is what is meant to be? This is happening right now. And of course, I'm just giving you the brief details of it, but there were too many things happening at that time that made it very obvious that this contract signing is what needs to take place at this moment. And somehow or the other, the money will appear. On the flip side, also, you think about the worst case scenario. If I sign this contract, what is my worst case? I let it go. I lose some deposit money, which I pay. I lose some money, right? Like that is my worst case scenario. This is my fear is that I lose $10,000 out of $100,000 that I'm supposed to pay. If I let that fear go and I say, okay, I only have 10K to make this deposit, 100K is supposed to be paid in 6 months. I have no idea how that money will come. And if I don't pay it, I lose the deposit. Okay, I feel that fear and I do it anyway. 2 months later, the first deposit is due of 30,000. What happened is that literally 2 days before the deposit is to be made, because of all the crypto craziness that was happening in 2021, somehow money got deposited into my account because there were all these airdrops going on. And suddenly I had $27,000 to make the first deposit.
Someone who actually doesn't do anything with
Yeah,
crypto
I did
to
not know
begin
anything
with.
about
It's
crypto.
not like
I used some service, bought some products there, and then they decided to reward their early customer with big bonuses because that company started doing very well. Who even does that, right? Like, but what happened is that I got nearly the amount I needed for that first deposit. Without going into details, the second deposit was due of $60,000, $70,000, whatever it was. And again, like, I don't have the money, no idea where it's going to come from. Possibly going to lose the deposit or have to pay interest or fines or whatever it is. A month, like I did pay the fines for 1 month, and then suddenly, out of nowhere, no experience in trading crypto or anything. I have this intuition. start trading crypto. So I took out $5,000 that I had and I started trading crypto. Within a week, that became $100,000. From no experience, no skills, nothing. It was just like blind betting almost. I did that and it became 100K and I was able to pay that second deposit and the property was mine. This is what I call reality bending. This is what is manifestation is that without knowing how, just through that conviction, you bend the energy, you bend reality through your that gravity of consciousness, of power, of conviction. You make it happen. You have no idea how it's going to happen. You may experience failure. It may look like you're going to lose the deposit, blah, blah, blah. But that is what it takes, is that blind conviction that I will make this happen. I don't know how, but I will make it happen. And we have met so many people since then who follow the same principles and make reality happen. Because guess what? That is how quantum shift happens. If you follow the linear, you keep going in linear time. You want to get into quantum time, you need to do something that is a quantum action. And these kinds of quantum actions where you take a leap without knowing where you will land, that is what creates the quantum field.
I have seen so many examples and witnessed so many people in my world who went from 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 10,000 per month to over 1 million the next year within 12 months. I've seen people who were envisioning working with celebrities and now they do, simply because it just happened, not because they did anything to reach out to them or anything like that. The key component in this story that you just illustrated is not only conviction, but also following your intuition. And none of what you shared in this example, you were strategizing. You were mentally coming up with this, like, oh, suddenly 30K is going to land out of the blue from this company. Like, how, like, even timing wise, that deposit, that money could have landed 3 years prior to that deadline or 5 years later, but no, it happened, what, 5 days before that or
Yeah,
something
two
like that?
days before.
2 days before the deposit had to be paid. You can't make this up with your mind.
And then some people will say, oh, it's just luck. How many times can you be lucky? This is not, I'm giving you one example of my life. This has happened several times. And even within that example, 2 times to be able to make that kind of money in a week or in a day, it's not linear. If I go the linear route of earning 100,000, it may take me who knows how much time. It can also happen quickly, but again, it's like if I just do the linear part of doing my job, it may take a year. This literally happened. It was a shift in reality. And we have experienced these kinds of shifts several times. So it's important to understand that all of this linear rationalization of the mind, oh, it's luck, oh, it's this, oh, it's that, oh, it can't happen for me. That is what you overcome when you create that conviction. And there is something about love also. Like, this land, I really loved it. I said, like, I did not just feel I will live here. I loved being there. It was just like I loved the idea of having my own retreat center and teaching in my place. All of that, there was a lot of love for it. So there are these factors that it's not just a mental, oh, I want to make $1 million tomorrow and I will make it happen. It's not just this mental wanting. It becomes something very embodied. There is love for it. There is this strong passion for it that I really, really, really desired. It's not just, it will be nice to have. I want this. This will solve my problem, so I want this. No.
This is the difference from wishful thinking, that it's not like, it would be nice to have that land. It would be a nice space for a retreat center. No, I actually am in love with this space. I can see myself in this space. I feel the space. I'm connected. I'm one with this space. I'm in oneness with this space. It's mine because I am it.
And then it also comes to the second point, which had come to me when you were talking, that when you are feeling all of these feelings of conviction, of love, of passion, It is because you are, or inspiration, that is another one, not or and inspiration. It is you channeling your soul's plan, your soul's strategy. That's why you don't need to create this mental strategy. You already know that the strategy is in place. I have to just follow that inspiration, that guidance, and make those inspired actions. Like me waking up one day and being like, I have to trade crypto. I just know I have to trade crypto today. And I
That
start,
knowingness, like where is this even coming from? Like without having any knowledge or any understanding, any experience, it's like that inspiration drops from somewhere very divine. It's not, again, it's not a mental thing that like, oh, maybe I should try crypto
yeah.
because I have some time pressure and the deadline is coming soon, and well, crypto seems to be really doing well right now, so I will try my best to make it happen. It was more like a download from the divine source being like, go for it, do
And
it.
even like, when I was trading crypto, I was not following the news. I was not looking at anything. I was just like, okay, buy this now, sell this now, blah, 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 blah. And suddenly it's 100 K. And same kind of thing has happened with another, example of trading stock. I am not into financial trading. I'm just want to make this super clear. But again, I was sleeping. I had this lucid dream just before waking up. I have to buy these two stocks. I had some money left, put it into these two. This was even before, not related. This was just before the pandemic. Put it into those two stocks. 2 weeks later, the stocks tripled or something. So like the money tripled. And I was like, okay, take it out, done. And it's just like this effortlessness. And the thing is, I'm not trying to make money. I'm not trying to solve some problem or anything. It is literally like, this is what the soul's plan is. I'm just following it. Because then you'll say, oh, but then you should be able to reproduce this and do this every day. No, I'm not talking about being a magician or something in that form. Like I can perform the same trick every day. It's like it's very specific timing to make very specific things materialize. Like, this is what my soul is meant to materialize. So this was the second point, was that your calling, that passion that you're feeling within you, that conviction that you're feeling within you, that vision that you're seeing, that fantasy that you're having is the is the role that you uniquely are meant to play in this reality. So it's not anyone else's story, it's your story, and live it, follow it, and make your life joyful and blissful. That is where that joy and bliss comes from, is when you follow your passion and do it with all that is happening. Even if there is shit taking place on the surface, deep within you, there is that joy because you know you're doing, you're answering your highest calling, you're living your fullest life. And that is what makes it so special, that you get to experience that, you get to live that. And each person will have that different calling. Like my way to manifest is this, my manifestation is this retreat center, blah blah blah, whatever it is. It's not anyone else's. Someone else's thing will be completely different. You follow your thing. That is exactly what you are meant to do. So again, like just that is your uniqueness. That is your specialness. Answer that call.
And on top of that, disclaimer that this is not in any shape or form a financial advice. It's more of an encouragement for you to really listen to your heart, to your intuition, to trust yourself, to reconnect with your inner power, and to be very, very, very intentional with how you're spending your energy, what you're paying attention to, what you make out of every single synchronicity that you witness. If you follow those nut nudges to go and do it, to go and express yourself, to go and play in crypto, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, you need to be really precise with your energy and with your attention. So, and that is only possible if you really clean your life, and you become a very clean conduit of money, of energy, of ideas, of insights, of synchronicities, of opportunities, of everything that is happening in your life. And because you're so clean, it is pretty much impossible to ignore those signs, just like it was impossible for you to not see that, okay, this is clearly some kind of a divine intervention and I need to go with it. I need to go with the flow. I need to surrender to it and go and play with this stuff. So again, this is a disclaimer that it's in by no
And
means financial advice.
just to add to that, like I would say, like, I would just replace the word need to with you choose to, because you don't really need to. If you don't, you will just keep living the standard life. Nothing changes. You can keep living in the linear world endlessly. This is what most people are doing because that soul's calling keeps coming throughout life and most people just keep ignoring it. So you don't really need to. If you want to, you choose to, great, you will live a much more fulfilled life. And talking about financial advice, like, of course, after hitting this jackpot of crypto, I thought I am a genius. I know how to do crypto. I know how to trade. So out of that 100K, I withdrew the 70K that was due for the payment, paid that, and then I had 30K left. And I'm like, I'm a genius now. I'm a genius stock trader or crypto trader. So let me just keep making 100K every week. Why not? It's easy. So again, I took out 5K and I was like, okay, let's do this again. 5K disappeared in like, I think 6 hours. Like, okay, just bad luck. I will do 5K again. I have 5 more tries, right? Like if I have 30K, I can try this 6 times. Did 5K again in a day or two, lost it again and again and again. So the whole point was that, that the moment that human component came in, that greediness came in, that mentality that like I am the one controlling this. I will do this. I will make it happen because I am this, I am that. Like the moment that comes in, everything starts collapsing. And that is also part of the experience to realize like how much are you really influencing and how much are you really channeling that soul's strategy, that soul's plan. And when you go through those experiences and like she said, purify, you start realizing, okay, this is my human part. It's not really, in alignment. It's just doing its nonsense. I'm wasting my time and my energy with this. You drop that, you come into deeper and deeper alignment where you just become extremely precise till you reach the point of impeccability, which doesn't mean perfection. It just means that you are very much aligned to your soul strategy and you keep acting on that just flawlessly. And that may mean that sometimes you do the wrong action because that wrong action, that failure is exactly what is needed to get to where you need to be. So impeccability has a very different definition here. It's not about the superficial outward perfection of getting the plan right, but it's about following that inner guidance impeccably and allowing whatever happens through that to happen. The failures, the mistakes, the bad blood between your relationships, partnerships, whatever it is, that is exactly the soul's strategy. It is non-linear. You can't know how this action, how this consequence is going to get you to where you need to be, but it will. This is what most people realize, like, what is called hindsight is 2020. And when you switch into this alignment, then your foresight becomes 2020 because you just start trusting that, okay, I will just do this because I know that it will get me there. And right now, if it looks bad, if it looks negative, I still know that this is exactly how I'm going to get to the end. So you don't need hindsight anymore. You're totally in the present moment and you know that whatever is happening is exactly what is going to take you across.
I absolutely love living this way.
Mhm.
I absolutely love this lifestyle. I absolutely love the magic that comes with it because, again, like you said, it's no longer linear. It's no longer this boring groundhog day. It's no longer all the same. It's not a template. It's not a copy paste. Every single day is unique and so magnificent and so deep and so exciting and so full of surprises. And like you just said, sometimes there are some pushbacks, there's some kind of a, I don't know, something didn't go the way you expected it to go. And yet every single thing that happens is a divine intervention, it's a divine act, it's a divine something that brings you to where you need to be and want to be and desire to be. And that is just so freaking awesome to live this way. I'm like,
And like then, because like what is the linear planning mode of the world? It's like we keep planning for perfection. We keep planning that nothing goes wrong and everything will be exactly what we think it will be. And of course, no plan ever goes that way. And things keep going wrong. But when they go wrong, we suffer. We think, oh, it's not going according to plan. And this is wrong. And we have to keep coming back to plan. Course correct. But when you're not living with that plan, when you're not seeking perfection, when you're not rejecting pain, when you're not rejecting failure and all of this, and you're just like, okay, this is what I'm meant to do today, I do it. And if it results in this, pain happens, I go through it. And it's just like, you're living so in the present, but it's not this uh kind of spiritual, I'm living in the present. It's like you're living in alignment. I like to call it alignment more than living in the present because that is pretty much the same, but it's more about doing an action or inspired action. It's not about just about, oh, I'm living in the present, looking at the trees, looking at the flowers, everything is pretty, I'm happy, it's beautiful, blah, blah, blah. No, it's like you're creating life, you're creating business, you're creating relationships, you're living fully in the present by actually living. It's not about the present, it's about living.
you're putting your gifts into action, you're bringing your full essence into this world, you're making the most out of who you are, you're squeezing yourself into this reality instead of being like, yeah, things are going to somehow unfold. It's not somehow, it's because you are being you and you are making the most out of you. That's why shit actually happens.
So that's why you will see us next time.